It's going to be a fascinating study because something like this I can't ever recall happening.
There is no less conflict now than there has been in the previous 2 months. Good morning, this is Lance Kenmore with the Kenmore Team, and I'd like to welcome you to this week's edition of the Tri-Cities Real Estate Update. We're here every Saturday morning right here on News Talk 870. As always, you can contact me, Lance Kenmore, anytime direct on my cell phone at 727-8977, or visit us on the web at kenmoreteam.com. Once again, I always like to thank John McKay for working to make this happen. Mr. John McKay, how you doing over there this week?
It has been another interesting week.
It doesn't seem like we have any lack of content in the world right now.
No,
Yes.
We are content rich.
We are content rich. And from a property standpoint, new countries and new borders have been formed.
Exactly. And I was going to ask you, what do you think happened to the property values in a certain area of is it the Emerald City that it's known as?
Man, there will be some studies that will come out that I will be fascinated about reading that has to do with property value.
Because from a real estate perspective, not to diminish anything that's ever happened, but it's going to be a fascinating study because something like this I can't ever recall happening.
Yeah, so it's
what is that going to do to the property values, not just there, but the entire region?
Yeah, it's going to be, like I said, I mean, we're probably next year when we start to get data on this type of stuff, because that's what just fascinates me is the data side of it. When we start to get data on that, I bet we're going to do a show that is really going to look at those numbers, and I can't wait to see the case study.
And somebody's going to come in and buy up a lot of that for probably a very favorable price.
There's potential for that to be happening, and actually that leads us right into this week's celebrity real estate story. And this one, not exactly right in the heart of Seattle, but also somebody with a little bit of Tri-Cities ties coming into play. We've got former Mariner Jay Buhner selling his Issaquah home. So Issaquah, just outside of Seattle. I think many of us in the Tri-Cities have driven through there before.
Yep.
Another iconic neighbor, as you could say, in the same neighborhood out there in Issaquah, you have Isaiah Thomas, who also owned a house out there.
Yeah.
But Buhner sold. So originally priced at just over $2.3 million. He had a beautiful home out there that ended up closing and selling for $175,000 less than that, just at $2,075,000.
Wow.
So no hints in the article as to where he's going, but I do know we see him on the commercials around here for his Northwest
Motorsports, yeah.
And so kind of fun to put a celebrity news real estate story together with some local Tri-Cities ties there. So it'll be fun to see if usually what happens with these is a few weeks later we see a celebrity news story about what they bought or where they relocated to. One of the things we always like to do is temper that celebrity real estate story with a Tri-Cities story and what is happening in Tri-Cities with real estate. So we do have released from the Tri-Cities Association of Realtors. We had been waiting to get the May numbers to see what that looked like as far as the number of sales and average sales price. So those numbers have been released now, and Tri-Cities Association of Realtors reporting that the number of total sold in May was 330. A slowdown that we predicted, and that was true. Now, when we look at those numbers, though, previous Mays, if we look at 2019 May, 387 versus 330. May of 18, 394. shockingly close. May of 17, 392. So
wow.
Normally we're looking at 390 closings in May because of what's been going on with COVID and the market and the restrictions. That represents about a 16% decline in the number of closings. Now, actually, a little bit better than I thought we would be in that situation. And a leading indicator number that is actually looking like it'll set us up for a better June is the number of pending was 491, and last month that number was only 367. So an extremely active market with homes going pending right now. And so my team and I, we've been talking about and monitoring these numbers daily, looking at what that looks like. And basically what we're having happen right now is I think you're seeing the indications of more of now being our spring market. So a lot of that hype and what was normally would go on in March and April was really pushed ahead for a couple of months. So it feels really busy right now. And so, I mean, granted, we're still working under a massive amount of restrictions. And so that's still out there in the marketplace. And I will tell you, there's, you just have to look at the local news and stuff and what's going on. And in the real estate world, I will tell you, there is no less conflict now than there has been in the previous 2 months. In fact, on some cases, we've kind of hinted at it before on the show. In fact, in some cases, I think it's worse, and take this as you want, whether it be real estate or a communication tip or what's going on out there in the market right now. But I really feel like people are falling into 3 categories right now. The number one category that Lance calls that is terrified. I mean, that's a category. There's people out there that are still terrified. The category number 2 that we're running into is what I call cautiously concerned. And then the third category could have many names, but I'm just going to say don't care. And so I think what happens with the conflict is we're putting deals together in the real estate world with people that are in different categories. And I'm not judging those categories. I'm not giving advice today. That's not what this show's about. But there's more conflict than ever between those categories. And I will tell you, real estate is a tough business to begin with when we're not dealing with those categorical layers that I'm talking about. And then we add those into the mix and we have a whole nother level of difficulty that we're dealing with. So communication there is key. Monitoring that is key. And it really kind of leads me into today's topic, and that is the importance of having a team behind you during what's going on in the world right now. And so, and part of this came up. I mean, I've just got to tell you, part of this comes up from, my family and myself, during this for inspiration, watching The Last Dance with Jordan, and that documentary that was going on. And, I went back and looked at some of my notes from previous shows where I talked about teams and stuff. Really interesting that we're drawn to that when, one of my quotes for teams is from Michael Jordan, and that's talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence wins championships. And so I think prior to all of this happening, it was maybe easy to get a house sold or have showings of a house or get a deal done. And a talented person could probably get that done for you. But if you want to go to the next level with the teams, you're going to have to look at teamwork and intelligence. And I think based upon those 3 categories that I talked about, the teamwork portion of that and the intelligence to think through these situations is more important than ever in your real estate transaction. And so one of the things that we like to do, and I had a client call this week that came up, and I had a consultation with a client, and that's generally what will happen is people will call into my office and we'll do an initial consultation. And a wonderful buyer reached out to me, and we had a 10-minute conversation about what their needs are, what they're looking for, how best to take care of them. And then I said, okay, great. I've got all of those notes down. I've documented those notes. We were having a Facebook Messenger conversation, and I said, perfect. I'm now going to have a showing expert reach out to you, and we're going to get you into those correct properties. And he's like, oh, wait. He's like, hold up, wait a minute. So you're not going to meet me out at that house and show that to me? And it was a shocker to him. And I said, I'm not. And I kind of used the analogy, since we don't have football right now in the way we've had it.
Yeah.
Let me do a quick analogy. And what I said to him on the phone that I use a lot is I said, hey, on the team aspect, my job's a lot like Pete Carroll. And I said, when we go out to show those houses and monitor everything that's going on, that's the field for me. And so when it comes down to making that play and throwing the ball, trust me, you don't want me out there throwing the ball. I'm going to send you Russell Wilson. Okay. And so my Russell Wilsons just happened to be named Cindy, Jeremy, Tyson. I've got some great ones. And so I'm going to send you Russell Wilson.
Or Aaron Rodgers.
When it's time to throw the ball, as McKay says, I'm going to send you Russell or Aaron to make the play happen. And so he's like, guys, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. And I said, and if there's a problem and that's not working, or we need to tweak that or come back, you're going to get all of our institutional knowledge in that case. And so it was fantastic. And sure enough, I sent my Russell out, and she happened to just kill it. And, these people are, they've got appointments now. They've got matches with houses. And she is 100% dedicated to that job and getting them into the right place. And so it was a great reminder for me to talk about those categories, talk about that communication, and then look. And I just have a real advantage right now in that playing field because I've got a lot of Russells and Aarons out there that I can throw into that situation and make those plays happen. So the teamwork aspect of it, the intelligence of what it takes to get that done, is absolutely killer. And sometimes I forget to talk about the results of that. And I'll tell you what, 2 weeks ago, I talked about trends that were happening because of COVID and the changes in the world right now. And one of those was the downsizing of 2 households to 1 with multi-generational clients. And we talked about that happening, seeing that in the marketplace. And we've now had, in the last week and a half, 3 successful under contracts of those exact situations, to where we're helping people sell 2 homes, move to 1 home, find that perfect house that works for their family so that they can have multi-generational living. And I tell you what, that is not slowing down, and we're seeing more and more of that with downsizing, with changing demographics of what's going on. So be on the lookout for that in the future. So that's step 1 that I wanted to talk about with our teamwork. The other thing that has become readily apparent in the last 3 months is what happens after we're under contract, and what are the steps and the points that we're dealing with that can get us to a successful closing. When I come back from the break, I'm going to talk about some great properties that are going on the market and talk about the back end support of a very intelligent team helping your real estate transaction get to closing.
Right here on News Talk 870.
Welcome back to the Tri-Cities Real Estate Update. We have been talking some numbers about what was going on, and man, the real estate market's still super hot around here. Low inventory. We're seeing multiple offers on many properties. Our pending numbers have gone way up, and our average sales price is hanging in there. So right before the break, we talked some numbers last month, 330 total sold, and average sales price coming in right at 330. So things have been hanging in there real good. So like I said, what is the key to that? New inventory that we're looking for. So I've got to pick 3 here with some great inventory that we've put on. Pick number 1, I'm going to take you out to West Richland, 3444 East Lake Drive. This is a 4-bedroom, 2-bath rambler located in the Lakes community. And I tell you what, if you haven't driven through the lakes out there in West Richland, gorgeous neighborhood. You've got larger lots. A lot of these have shops on them. So you've got a little space out there. I tell you what, if I want to quarantine, the Lakes is not a bad place to be doing that.
Yeah.
This particular house, 2746 square feet. You've got beautiful hardwood floors. Awesome layout. You've got a sunken formal living room with a fireplace and a formal dining room. And then the kitchen, they did slab granite counters. And then once again, they've updated with a gorgeous subway tile backsplash. Just absolutely stainless steel appliances, dialed in kitchen. It is gorgeous. French doors out to the patio. And that patio, like I said, great area to hang out. Lot of space between you and the neighbors. Trust me, you've got some privacy out here. Then you look at what else you've got out there, and you've got additional off-street parking or RV parking and plenty of space to potentially build a shop. And this is coming in at $557,000, and it's dialed. It is a gorgeous property. Pick number 2, I'm going to take you out of West Richland and head over to Kennewick, 1611 West 51st. Now, this is Inspiration Estates over there in Kennewick. This is a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, plus a study or office. You've got a bonus loft-style family room and flex space. This house is just under 2,600 square feet. You've got a main level master. So you've got all that square footage, but this is what people look for. Main level master, so you get that living all on one level if you want it, plus you've got the extra space. You've got granite counter island with a breakfast bar. You've got glass tile backsplash. Very nicely done. Dream backyard that was professionally terraced and landscaped. Oversized covered patio, fire pit. I mean, when I tell you this was professionally landscaped, I mean, the design and this stuff was done. Gorgeous backyard. 3-car garage with parking on the side of the house. And man, that's coming in at $429,900. So
wow,
great property, great new listing. And then pick number 3, I'm going to take you out to Benton City, just on the outskirts of Kennewick. We're out in the Badger Canyon area, and this is 61303 East 95 PRSE. 3-bedroom, 3-bath, and a bonus room on 2 acres with a huge 3-bay shop. So you've got formal dining room, awesome red oak hardwood flooring inside.
Wow.
The kitchen has tons of counter space, stainless steel appliances. You've got a breakfast nook with bay windows. The kitchen has just enough room to just have massive amounts of entertainment. This is where you can have the holiday parties. And then on top of all of that, you can go out to a 60 by 14 Trex deck. So it's got the Trex deck, low maintenance. And we didn't even get into that shop. 65 by 42 shop, 2-story, 3 bays with roll-up doors, wired for RV hookup. and you've got the shop bays have electric. Then you've got a water drain for the RV. So if you want to park the RV out there, this place is just made for it. And that's coming in. That could easily be $600,000-$700,000 property. That's coming in at $579,900.
Wow. You had me at the garage.
Yeah,
the shop.
yeah. I mean, McKay, I don't want to say you could live out there, but you could live out there.
Well, I'm thinking build my own weight room.
Oh yeah, the weight rooms you could put into that thing. Oh yeah, no, it would be absolutely phenomenal. So we are, like I said, by all indications, we're looking at a delayed spring market. So yes, the pendings are way up, and our inventory is still showing a low number. But the difference being, we've put on a ton of great inventory in the last 2 to 3 weeks, but it's getting gobbled up. So that demand is out there. The interest rates are still super low. So as these listings come on, a lot of them are going into multiple offers. And I'm not just talking about the $200,000-$300,000 homes. I'm seeing the 450s, the 500s, even some of the 6s and 7s going into multiple offer situation.
Wow.
So give us a call. Let me get one of those buyer specialists. Before the break, we started to kind of break down the team and why we assign different jobs to different people on the team versus just being a single agent that does everything. One of the keys to that was so that you have a dedicated person that is ready to handle these multiple offer situations, the speed with which those showings need to happen, getting that done, and focusing on monitoring what's coming on the market so that when the perfect house does come up, you're ready to just jump right on it.
So you can't do everything yourself.
Well, I'm here at the radio station filming. I can't.
Exactly, but it's a truism.
That's one thing that you bring up is great is potentially, I mean, here we are, and potentially there was probably a few homes put on the market while we were doing the show.
Yeah.
And so we have specialists, and that's their job, is to be monitoring that, making those appointments, making that calls. And then if something happens along the way, or they need some extra advice, we need some coaching, we need to get some stuff done, I'm available to make sure at that level, the higher level, we get those things handled. The big thing that happens, which we run into, is what happens after we have a contract in place. And so a lot of my sellers and stuff, in fact, one said to me last week, he said, "Hey man, thanks for getting our house under contract. You guys are," I mean, he's like, "You guys, you're the man." He's like, "You guys are thinking." I said, you know, right now, I'm like a third of a man. I am nothing until that you have a check, you know.
Yeah.
And so we just said, and he's like, "Well, that's not very encouraging, Lance." And I said, "No, it's encouraging, but we've only gotten the first third of the process done. You know, we did the marketing, we got that offer, we got that negotiated, but we have like 80 other items that are going to happen from now on." So
yep.
We're going to have things come up in a title report. You know, we're going to have exceptions or easements come up that you have questions about, and we're going to have to talk to title about that. And maybe we're going to have to get one of those exceptions removed, or maybe we're going to have to figure out what that cloud on title is. And so that's just one example of something I was dealing with yesterday, for example. So then on top of title, we're going to be tracking those earnest money deposits and getting those receipts. And then we're going to make sure the buyer said that they had a certain amount of funds liquid to close on the property. So we're going to get a copy of those funds and get a copy from their bank account to make sure they can close and that they've submitted that to the lender.
Yep.
And so it can go on and on, but the number from contract to close is about 80 key points that we're dealing with. So if you look at the traditional real estate model and you look at that agent that is hammered with trying to find those homes for those people, if they happen to get 3 deals under contract, and I just said they have 80 touches to be working on, In the traditional real estate model, what happens is now they have 240 things to be doing over the next 25 days.
Yeah.
And so what you'll see happen in a traditional real estate model is you'll see that agent's production, they'll get 3 deals under contract, and then their production will tank because they won't be having the time to show or make those lead follow-up calls.
Yep.
And because now they're dealing with all of those items, and then those 3 will close, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, we need to get back to work. And so they need to go back to showing and calling and looking up those listings. And see, notice how I did it myself. I said they need to get back to work. So we said, no, they were always doing work, but just different type of work. And so we don't want those other portions of the transaction to suffer. So we said, okay, let's just always be focusing on this lead generating, on this marketing portion, on this graphic design portion, on this video portion. Let's have specialists focusing on that so that we don't get those peaks and valleys, and we can always perform at this higher level. So in a nutshell, that's what we're looking at with the real estate team. We have that closing coordinator that comes into play. And then the agent goes back to doing their lead generation, to making their calls, to finding that right property. When it comes to listing and dealing on the seller side, we want somebody very, very familiar with what's going to be happening.
Yes.
When it comes to 3D tours, it's so important right now to have those Matterport tours and those scans.
Those are fun to watch
on those properties. And they're great to go through, and they give you an immense amount of detail. Those are really in the new market, in the new way of doing things. Those are our first showings. So a lot of people are asking me, they're like, well, when are we going to, do you think we'll have a second showing? And I said, a lot of times now I'm calling it the second showing. That's just the first time in person that somebody has been to your house. With the Matterport scans that we're doing and the detail, they've already gone in every single room of your house.
Yeah.
They've just done it from their phone. They've done it while they were watching TV last night. And so this is a second showing. And so we're very, very likely now to, after they do the in-person showing, to get that offer. And so there's a couple things. And somebody said, I was on a call. I was super fortunate this week. I was able to get on a Zoom call with one of my one of my idols in real estate. So I'm a geek out in my own industry, and I watch $1 Million Listing. And so you have the guys in New York, and Ryan Serhant is one of those. So I was very, very fortunate. There was 11 presenters on a call earlier this week, and he was one of them. And then I was presenting. Now, granted, I was presenting for about 4 minutes, and he was presenting for 40. But that's the breadth of the team size and knowledge. But he said, he says we're not going back to work. We're not going back to the way things were.
Yeah.
We're going forward to work. And this is one of those things with those Matterport tours and those showings and those virtual showings and our digital signings, that is not going to change right now. We have sped up the amount of technology integration into the team. And I couldn't be more excited about that. I actually think because of what's happened, we're going to be selling more faster moving forward. So with our adoption model and what's going on, it's a huge positive. I would love to answer any questions people have about the team structure, how that works, and how you can take advantage of that. Go to kenmoreteam.com, shoot me a message, and we can have those conversations and talk about it. And more importantly, with all of that happening,
yes,
we will still be right back here next week.
Right here on News Talk 870.